So this is an episode I feel is exploring who I am and the freedom to be ourselves and the freedom to be me. And so I wanted to share that lately I've been guided to start a podcast speaking my own mother tongue, and that is Mandarin from Taiwan, addressing to my people, Taiwanese women or Chinese or Asian women, and I struggle through it. I could hardly started it, and I realized the reason why I was so desiring to move to Europe more than 20 years ago is that I just long for this freedom. I long for this freedom to explore. And of course, part of me, on the soul level, I had a lot of experiences in different continent and different countries. So I feel home. I remember when I first arrived in Germany, I first arrived in Italy or France or Spain or UK, Scotland, England, Scandinavia. I just feel home. Like I just love how I feel, that feeling free. And so I felt that I was sort of, make a decision to move continent because there's a part of me longing for exploration of the world. And at the same time, I also have to be very honest that I felt suffocated by the culture I grew up in. Even when I speak my own mother tongue, I just felt there's a different personality that is like a very polite, um, diminished little girl that is speaking. And of course, we could never abandon any part of ourselves without being affected by what is underneath. So even though I felt freer over the last 20 years, moving countries, having working in tech job and traveling a lot and doing a lot of um making a lot of achieving a lot, there's a part of me that just lying within me waiting for me to look at. and I feel, right, things that we feel comfortable with, like the way I would say, like we often hear that you take you with you no matter where you go. So that meaning, when we do, like when we change job, when we find new relationship, and when we have friends, like if we don't consciously make changes within ourselves, that we will continue meeting the type of people, right? Like when I started doing the past life regression, we will often see that, basically people are just marrying the same husband, just in different name and different form, the different pattern. And people changing job, they always run into bully or like same situation. And so I, of course, take with me who I am, as a Taiwanese woman that's being deeply influenced by Chinese culture. That's most obvious. And what I didn't realize on such like a deeper level is that Taiwan was colonized by Japan for 50 years. I think it was 1895 to 1945. So what happened is that Japan was really keen in making Taiwan part of its empire. And so what they did, physically they built Taiwan as a so the infrastructure, the education, but what they also have done is to whatever however they do, however they did, they it's sort of like, can I say the word brainwashed? Like educated people, everything about Japanese belief and values and system. And that's how I grew up with my grandparents being educated and brainwashed. So everything I have learned to be a woman, because I grew up with my grandmother. being obedient, being polite, being um like not bothering and not burdening, not inconvenience others. But at the same time, there's this deep culture, cultural behavior of women being seen as a weaker gender, right? That also has to do with the Chinese system, the 5,000 years old belief is that, women are like men are superior, women are subordinate and self sacrifice, like are required to self-sacrifice because that's the value of a woman was being producing the offsprings and also to provide the value, like to serve others. And so what I have discovered is that there's this programming me that I have to show up a certain way. So, that certain way is a combination of high functioning, intellectual, um, capable, competent, but also people pleasing. And I have to speak a certain way. It's not that I intentionally want to, but it's that it's become part of the conditioning. I have to speak in such a way that make people comfortable, that I provide value. And at the same time, I believe emotionally and energetically that I s- seek this connection to feel validated and to feel safe. And so, and also because in my culture that women generally are not accepted when we are too direct, when we are too assertive, when we are assertive, like women are not to be assertive, women are not to be direct, otherwise it be deemed unlikable and you know people make name. And so somehow that's become my part of my operating system. And why I'm sharing this is because in this spiritual awakening journey that I am trying so hard to remember, to want to remember who I am, to embody who I am. So I see externally, I was like seeking, like I wanted to have this ability. I wanted to be of service, which is truly, truly, I feel it's in the depth of everyone's heart. We chose to reincarnate in this time, just truly so we can be in service to this ascension and to the awakening, to support one another. However, I feel in this process through the conditioning, right? Like the lineage we were born into, the culture, that my desire to be of service somehow is sort of colored with a certain conditioning and flavors, if you will, almost like um I needed to prove that I am good enough to deserve the connection. So that also means that like I constantly compare, I look out to see, oh, someone else is better, seems to be better than I am, and I need to like try hard to prove. And of course that in itself is self-defeating. It's almost like the more I try to externally seeking, the more I feel depleted, the more I felt that I couldn't be myself, and the more I don't know who I am, because I learned a word called selfhood. So basically, in my culture, or maybe in some of the culture, women are conditioned to define the value in relations, right? So I'm defined that I have to be a good daughter. Uh, I have to be a good colleague. I have to be a good woman, not to burden, not to inconvenience. I have to be soft speaking spoken. I have to be polite. I have to be helpful. I have to be useful. Like useful is a very strong conditioning in I know in Taiwan. And so almost that it become the motive of my operating system. And then, but then that underneath that, I just don't, right? I didn't have opportunity to know who I was before I was trained or conditioned to project out my um, value validation, right? Through studying to be a good student, going to like really good university, getting good job, well paid, being a good wife, being a good therapist. You know, when I entered this realm, I just feel like, oh, I need to become a better therapist. So what can I do? And it was like I need to be accepted into communities. So but because I never really know, I was never given the opportunity, and I never give myself the opportunity to know who I was on like within me, right? I like energetically as an empath, as a sensitive, like, you know, the energy is always projecting out and trying to make sure like manage, make sure people are okay, make sure what I say is received. And so it's almost like I feel like I have been perpetuating, even though, you know, it's not without what I really feel like authentically in the moment. I feel what I've been perpetuating is this um personality, or this conditioned personality in everything I do, in how I live my life. And what maybe this is relevant to you in the sense that, you know, we are really going through this time of this time that requires radical honesty to look at ourselves. Like, you know, what is it that, what is the relationship of me and myself? Like, I've done so many inner child healing work and all kinds of healing work. And I was always, you know, like really learning what it feels like to love and accept myself. And then the time we are going through, like we are being exposed to a deeper level, is that I realize, you know, deep down, I don't like myself. Because if I do truly like myself, I didn't need to people please others, right? I would, like, I don't feel safe to be myself. So I need to adjust myself. I need to speak a certain way, um, like take over people's responsibility. And I'm saying that just as a reflection. I'm not negating that there's a part of me that I'm learning to accept myself and loving myself a little bit more. And I believe, I truly believe the years and decades of the healing work is making changes and shifts on everyone, on our own, you know, psychic and emotional body, mental body, and spiritual bodies. But then it comes like a deeper level of the inner child programming resurfacing, is that, you know, are you truly, am I truly loving myself? Because if I do, I need to make a choice. I need to make a choice to choose to prioritize myself instead of needing to please others, to show up in a way that not to rock the boat, need to soften, you know, not to soften my message, not to, it's almost like give away myself in order to be received or to be liked, because it's not serving anyone. And I know it's a common thread as a woman, like we evaluate ourselves based on our relation, like relational, like almost like women, I feel, is existence is relational. um you could let me know how you feel about it, because I feel like I value define myself, I the value of me through, am I being a good daughter, and if not, I feel ashamed. If I'm being a good employee, if not, I had to work harder. And am I being a good um you know s- like spiritual healer or therapist or a channeler, like based on how people are responding to me. And that is just not sustainable, because I was giving away my life force constantly without me realizing. And and so, while this exploration is is not to, maybe it doesn't solve the question, or but it does invite myself, and hopefully you as well, to see, like, how am I truly being? Because if I continue my people pleasing, then what am I doing? I'm basically choosing others over my own well-being. And and I could say, yeah, but it's a conditioning, because I was physically abused into submission, so I'm so afraid if I don't do that, people are gonna leave me. Yes, it's all valid, and then I've done work through that. And however, there comes a moment, like this crunch point of our own soul evolution, is that, do I desire to continue this narrative and this story? Like, what do I desire? Do I desire to be this little girl that just wanted, just being docile, polite, pleasant, and likable, so that I can feel safe, right? That in itself is an illusion, because the safety is within myself. And so, yeah, that's what I feel I wanted to share, and like, as an exploration in this podcast. And I still do not know. I feel like I'm going through this phase of, like, really, like, struggled, because I need to be honest with myself. Like, who am I being? Am I being truly, truly authentic in honoring myself and honoring everyone, right? Because what I feel like, when we also people please, or shape shifting, we not only are not, like, abandoning ourselves, but we also not honoring the other person. And I don't think that's our, most people's intention. And so, yeah, the intention, I feel, where we're going, like, we're going through this spiritual awakening. And yes, the ultimate goal is to embody our true soul self, like the essence, and being this multi-dimensional self, having all this amazing ability in human form, and in service to the greatest conscious evolution. But how does that take place, starting with me? It's never about externally. right? I can no longer make myself small enough to make everyone comfortable. And I feel that's what a lot of women are going through, like have been going through and conditioned. We have to speak softer, quieter, pleasant, the way we speak to make others feel comfortable, to feel not others not threatened, to maintain the harmony. Um, and it serves its purpose until until I decide, no, maybe I cannot do it, change it overnight. But right now, I'm choosing, I'm choosing to come back, like to become present, to embody, like to connect with myself without projecting my energy out, my need out, my seeking that my validation seeking externally. But I call back all my energy and I come back, I come back, I come back, and I am learning to know who I am, the gift of my energy, the gift of my heart, the gift of my journey. The journey I have gone through, the cultural conditioning, the suppression, the fear that was distilled or I picked up through the the this life journey, right? They all serve a purpose. And it just comes a time that I just could no longer move forward without looking at myself honestly, how I have been living and who am I being to myself and to others. And so, yeah, this is definitely not how I imagine this podcast to be. And I'm just going to let it roll. Um, I know this is just part of the journey of really getting more and more honest with myself and about letting go of the old stories. Like a friend told me that you're really holding on to so many old stories and your identities. And I remember when I heard that, I said, "Who? Me? No." Like I did not know myself enough to see that I'm also holding on to a lot of old stories and old identities because it made me feel safe. It makes me feel safe by being a certain way, speaking a certain way, and not grounded fully into myself. And there's always a level of embodiment we could click into, like really just need to be very, very honest. So, yeah, I hope this monologue serves as an invitation for the exploration. And also, the world right now, the old system, the inversion is designed to keep our energy, our attention, everything externalized. And so it's easy to carry on like that. And that's why it's so exhausting as well. And so I'm just starting to really experience all this reality from a different visceral personal experience and know that, yeah, that maybe the definition of remember who we are needs to be rewritten. um it's not some fantastical, like glamorous galactic beings. We are this incredible galactic beings. And when we are here on the earth, as a human, it is how we truly let go of all the conditionings and experience, almost like regain or experience that freedom and flow of energy, the flow of life force, the life force that is truly um, the essence of who I am and who you are and who we are. So, I know this is not a usual mm, YouTube or a podcast. And I just honestly wish to dedicate this to honest exploration of, how we are still holding on to the old stories. And we can always choose to shift that and change that each moment. And I'm doing that. And maybe I don't succeed overnight, but I will continue. I will continue to come back and then to to relax into the next level of the truth and embodiment and authenticity. I hope this has served you. And yeah, this human journey is pretty special. And I hope you are enjoying being alive, and get to receive like the miracle and magic of the moment. Take good care. Sending you so much love. Until next time, enjoy being human. Bye for now.